Hi guys, welcome back. This is part 2 of the Moors murders. As I said in part 1, I'm doing my start and end with the pictures of these 5 children. Purely, again, you know, I want these kids to be remembered, their faces to be remembered, not them of Hindley and Brady. And this part 2 is going to be the court and sort of the afterlife of them in jail right up till their death. Let's get into it. Court proceedings started on the 19th of April 1966 in front of Justice Fenton Atkinson. The court was fitted with security screens, basically sort of like those plastic screens, bulletproof, to protect these 2 scumbags. I mean, these 2 people that were, you know, very nice people. Crap. Both pleaded not guilty. You know, this wasn't a long trial. This just was a 14-day long trial. Both took the stand in their defense. Brady took the stand first. He believed that he could outsmart them. You know, as I said in part 1, he really is an intelligent man. You know, he's very well read, very good intellect. I think he thought that he could outsmart the QCs, the barristers. You know, I think he genuinely thought he could outsmart the courts, and clearly it was never going to be that. He was never going to be able to. But he took the stand for 8 hours. In one day, he took the stand for 8 hours. He genuinely believed that he could outwit them. They would answer a question. He would be quite pedantic about it and, you know, give a really, really coarse answer. He went on to be the same throughout as he was in his childhood. He was very cocky, very sure of himself, thought that his intelligence really did outweigh those of others. Myra also took the stand, but didn't take as long with it as Brady did. Hindley, however, only took 6 hours. Hindley is said to be sort of a chameleon as such. She will sort of change to how she thinks you want her to be. You know, there's a lot interviews with people that were in the jails with her in Parkhurst, Durham, you know, all of these jails, Holloway, and they all say that she would literally just adjust to whoever was in her cell or talking to at the time. She would just adjust to what they would want her to be. So I kind of go under the principle that she was probably trying to manipulate, trying to be, oh, I'm just this feeble woman, I would never do such a thing. Clearly with the videotapes of Leslie Ann Downey, that was kind of impossible to hill to climb. There was just no way that she could climb that hill. She was just as involved. If not, I kind of feel that she was worse because she went and gripped the children. I was saying just the other day, I was talking to a friend, you know, when back in those days, and even in my days, and this was before I was born, you know, I got told, don't go with any strange men. It wasn't women. And even not that long ago, you know, if you saw a kid performing and having a paddy and a sort of woman dragging the kid away, you would just think, oh God, poor mum, you know, the child's having a breakdown and having a like tantrum, or you wouldn't think, oh my God, that woman's stealing that child. If it was the other way around and it was like the dad, you would question it. You would have something in your head, be like, that doesn't sound right, that doesn't look right. But a woman, you just wouldn't. And I think that's what she was trying to portray, to get that lighter sentence. But by this point, she was legitimately one of the most hated women in the UK. after the 14-day trial on May 6th, after just 2 hours, the jury came back and found them both guilty. Since the death penalty had been abolished, actually whilst they were on remand, so they were pretty lucky, to be fair, they were both sent to and given life sentences, which in the UK, life generally doesn't mean life. It's not like in the States where somebody can, you know, stay in prison forever. But there would be no way on earth that these two would ever be allowed out. You know, it just wouldn't be, it wouldn't be at the best interest. Somebody would kill them for sure. Brady was sent to Durham and Hindley was sent to Holloway. During his time in prison, Brady would make it very clear that he didn't want to get out, he didn't want to be alive. He did a multitude of hunger strikes. He was pretty much in mainstream prison for, you know, a good amount of his time, although he was mostly kept in confinement. You know, he did try and help the police during certain aspects of his time within the prison, you know, telling them that he would help them eventually, you know, find other bodies and stuff like that. To me personally, I think they both did it. They both very much, I feel, sort of, I don't know, made it a joke so they could get out. Do you know what I mean? Do the whole like, yeah, we'll show you where the bodies are that we did like 20 years ago and 15 years ago. I don't know how many actual times they did this, but they did it a lot, both of them. You know, throughout their times in jail, they would be, you know, another search on the moors would happen. You know, I believe that they were doing it more for days out than anything else. You know, there are obviously other opinions out there. For me, that's how it made me felt. Although, if it got Keith home to Winnie, to be fair, I didn't really care that much, just on the off chance that, you know, that mum could bury her son and lay her son to rest, not with the not knowing, you know, losing a child full stop, but let alone losing a child that you can't lay to rest is just horrific. So for me, it was worth it, and I understand the government and police officers keep willing to do it with these pair. For me, I just feel like they were taking the piss. Stated he spent 19 years in mainstream jails, so, you know, Parkhurst, Durham, I don't even know which others, but literally he got shipped quite often to different jails around the country. He, as I said, mainly in confinement, which, you know, that's got to have some kind of thing on your psyche. Do you know what I mean? He's not going to be allowed in the main jails. They would kill him. He wouldn't last. Although he wanted to, for that reason, he wanted to not be alive, but they were, you know, court ordered tube feed him at one point. In 1985, November in 1985, he moved here to Ashworth, which is a hospital for the criminally insane in Merseyside. He would say, you know, I never want to be released. I just want to die. Well, it's good job, sunshine, because you're never going to be released. As from sort of December 2007, he was with the death of John Strafford, who had killed 3 children, and he served 55 years after his death. Brady was the longest standing prisoner, with serving 51 years, I believe, up to his death, which is just insane. you know, over the times, the amount of times they, you know, it was in the paper a lot. Oh, we're looking for a court order to feed tube him. Like, I get it, you know. For me, I'm just like, let the twat suffer. Like, I'm sorry, but let him suffer. You know, but under our laws, we would never allow that. It would never be a case of we would just be like, yeah, screw it, let it happen kind of thing. Do you know what I'm saying? But, you know, he kept pretty much quiet throughout the time in jail, apart from sort of the odd times of saying in 85, you know what, I'll tell you. Hindley, on the other hand, a whole new cup of tea. Yeah. She was adamant she didn't belong in jail. It was all Brady's fault, even though there was audio recordings of her with one of the victims. You know, it's just incredible. You know, she had I don't know, I suppose a cocky way about it, that she just genuinely thought that she would get away with, you know, whatever was needed to get away with. Henley thought it would be a really good idea to stop responding and having any communications with Brady, hoping, in quote, it will help her case. Did it? Obviously not, but, you know, she obviously thought it was. So, you know, she stopped corresponding with him on around sort of 71-ish, but she had also decided at Christmas that, you know, she wasn't going to, you know, communicate with him anymore. As she told one of the girls, I'm bored of it now, he's boring. So I guess that was a good way of stopping, which also helped. In 1971, we had a postal strike here for like 6 weeks, so nobody got any mail for like 6 weeks, which was, you know, I suppose a good way of sort of ending it as well, without having to end it as in, yeah, she just wanted to be that, oh, I'm not involved with him anymore, you know, I'm a productive member of society crap. Henley, after being in jail for a little while, realised that, you know, get into a gay relationship was another way to manipulate people. It's been said that she would flip in and out of relationships to get people to do her laundry, or to get people to do this, that and the other. As I know I've said it before in, I think, part 1, and in this one, part 2, you know, she would be very much a chameleon. She would go to whatever was needed. However, she decided to start a relationship with Patricia Cairns. She was a prison officer in Holloway. Holloway is, again, one of, you know, the really hardened prisons in the UK for women. Probably Durham I'd class as like the worst of the worst. And then, you know, Holloway is pretty damn close. I think Durham's only classed as the worst of the worst just purely because it's a male jail with a woman's wing, which, you know, means you pretty much don't get off that wing. Everything's done on that wing. Where Holloway is very much a women's jail, and it's tough going, you know, it's a really tough going. These two became inseparable. They, you know, wanted to be together. They was, you know, very much like, okay, how can we be together? There's, you know, it's not going to last. That someone's going to grasp at some point that they are together, and they needed a plan. Carol, a former inmate at Holloway, you know, had, I don't want to say a friendship, because I really don't think it was, but had to live with her. So there was, you know, you deal with what you deal with. And she was one of the ones that did know about the relationship between Hindley and Cairns. She would sort of be their lookout, I suppose, you know, while they were doing the deed in a cell. She would be pretending to scrub the landing. if a screw come or the governor come or an inmate come, she would start singing, knowing that, you know, that's their code to get dressed, you know, sort yourselves out kind of thing. And she was their quote unquote lookout. They knew that there was only going to be a matter of time before somebody found out, somebody grasped, somebody, you know, the governor found out about her and her screw lover. So they knew that they had to do something. They'd come up with the idea that Carnes would work nights and she would help Hindley escape. They genuinely thought that this was like an amazing idea. They had everything planned. They had down to everything. And it's been said that if it wasn't for someone grassing, the plan would have gone through and it actually would have worked, which is scary to think of somebody like her being out of jail, but it is what it is. She obviously proceeded to ask other girls to help in the process, probably girls that she trusted, or at least she thought she could trust. This plan, however, didn't really go to plan. Obviously, this is one of another inmate, and she was known for being able to do things and get things done, shall we say. So she was approached to get the keys cut and do impressions to get cell keys, main door, you know, screws, keys, basically. So Carnes gave her the key. She made the impressions on soap. She then sent the soap to a quote-unquote man she knows, thinking it will get done. Did she do it because she liked Henley? Absolutely not. She did it because, well, to be fair, she was probably getting paid quite nice, and it meant really the screw that's there, she couldn't do shit to her. She knew too much. So yeah, I get it. I get why she did it. However, when she sent the casts out to be casted, the bloke or her bloke on the outside were actually grassed her up. She was called into the governor's office. She squealed like a pig. She basically said, you know, I'm going to get extra time and do stuff, and be charged for someone like Hindley and a screw. Are you crazy? And, you know, there's certain rules within a jail, you know, grasses, you don't grass, but I'm with her on this one, and so as well as a lot of the other inmates. Like, we're not getting extra time and extra days and extra weeks and getting put in solitary for what? For a baby killer and a screw? No, don't think so. Both Henley and Carnes were both arrested and charged and tried at the Old Bailey. Pat was given a 6-year sentence, rightfully so. Actually, I think she should have got more, but I digress. And Hindley was shipped off. She, if I'm honest, I don't understand why trying her. I really don't. Like, it seems insane to me that they would spend all that government money on trying her when she's a lifer. But I don't know. Maybe if something changed, I suppose, within the system, and at least they got something to back it up. I don't know. Hindley was shipped out, however, to Durham. Now, as I said previously, you know, Durham is a male jail, a very tough male jail. She went to the woman's wing. You know, everything is done in that wing. You sleep in the wing, you shit in the wing, you cook in the wing, you do your laundry in the wing, you even have visitors in the wing, school in the wing, everything is in the damn wing. So, you know, it is a real tough jail. She was working the laundry it was sad that she liked it in there because it was very peaceful, it was very quiet, she could, you know, just do what she wanted to do. And I think, you know, a lot would just leave her the heck alone just because they didn't want anything to deal with her. And it's like, you can't hide in Durham, you just can't hide. You can't go and be moved to another wing, or, you know, like in other jails, if you really don't want to be with somebody, you can ask to be moved to a different wing, or ask to be moved to a different cell. The likelihood is in Durham, if you ask to be moved, you're going to be shipped again, and you don't know where you're going to be shipped to. You know, for a lot of people, they'll stay, even if it means mingling with people like her, just to stay close to our visitors, because, you know, visiting sucks. It's like you get an hour or two visiting, and sometimes people got to travel for far to get the visiting, and you can't just, in our jails, you can't just walk into a jail on visiting hour. It's not like that. You have to have a VO. So say like I would have to send a VO to Carl. Carl couldn't just, even though he's my husband, he couldn't just walk into the jail on visitors day. He'd have to have a VO, to a visiting order, to come and see me. Very early on, there was a lot that would campaign and believe that Hindley was a really sweet lady. She wasn't this big bad wolf that everybody thought. You know, she never admitted anything. Like, literally, she never admitted a dang thing, which is dumb on her part. Purely is not now, but back then, you wouldn't be released from jail unless you admitted it. So unless you repented your sins, kind of principle, you wouldn't be released. So if you got 10 years, say, for murder, if you didn't repent those sins, they would just take you back to court, and you just get another 5 years, another 5 years, another 10 years. You would just not get out. That's just how it was back then. It's not now. Things have changed that you can actually get out without any admittance of guilt, but it wasn't like that back then. But then after she, in 84 maybe, I think it was, she actually realised, okay, if I ever want a chance of getting out of here, I need to start admitting. You know, people like this who was campaigning for her felt very betrayed, that they believed that she was some kind of battered woman that, you know, needed that. You know, Brady was such a bad guy. And don't get me wrong, he clearly was. But it was very much made out that, you know, it was all him. She didn't do anything. She was fearful of him, you know. But after she admitted stuff, they felt very, you know, they felt very disgusted and was very hurt by it. Again, during this sort of time, she was still trying to campaign. She was still trying to help find people on the moors. They did happen to find Pauline, and again still left Keith Bennett to this day. You know, as of this recording, Bennett was still never found. Keith was still never found. His mummy, you know, went to her grave not knowing where she was. She was then shipped to Crookham. Oh, it's called Cookham Wood, sorry. Cookham Wood is just a stupid thing. Everyone calls it Crookham. Crookham as in crook. She was then sent to Crookham, where again she was treated very well, and decided again to have another relationship, this time with this lady. She was a psychologist, I believe, and it got very serious between these two. She would eventually end up in a marriage ceremony, or an exchange of rings, I think they called it. You know, again, she was so mad that she felt that she should still be able to keep her job in Cookham Wood, that after she married, or ring exchange, whatever you want to damn well call it. But Hindley was so mad that she genuinely thought that she would be able to keep her job as a therapist within the prison. No, girl, you've just married a crook. You're not going to keep your job. Like, no, sorry, that's not how it works, dumbass. But of course, in Hindley's world, everything she thinks that she deserves and she should have. And unfortunately, that's just how Myra Hindley was during those times. By this point, she had been, shipped back and forth, and her final trip was to Cook and Wood. But by the time she had got there, she was very much, a broken woman, as they say. She was still campaigning to get out of jail. There's going to be no way, there's no way that somebody that as hated as she is, or she was, and still is, there's no way that she would have been able to just come out and change her identity and move forward. That just wouldn't have been the case with her. She was on sticks. She was in really, really bad poor health. Rapidly going down the shitter rather quickly. She again asked to be paroled on grounds of health issues. Again, denied. There's, I don't know. I don't even know why she tried, to be honest. But she had priests behind her that she had, she'd a changed woman, and whatever, girl. Just it is what it is, I suppose. But she died on November 15th, 2002, and she, rest in hell, bitch. Sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm really not. What you did, I'm sure Brady's will have a seat right next to you when he passed on in May 15th, 2017. I'm sure they are both very much reunited. Enjoy hell. Just a little edit at the end that I wanted to put in. This is Winnie. Winnie is Keith Bennett's mum. She passed away and still never found her baby, still never laid her baby to rest. She campaigned endlessly to, keep Keith's picture out there, for people to remember her baby, to remember this beautiful face, not the face of a monster, as she did with all the other children involved in this, as well as her son. It just so happened that her son was the only one that was never recovered from the moors. It was said that Winnie would go to the moors fairly often if she wanted to feel close to Keith. There is a memorial in the moors, which I will show you momentarily, that Winnie done, and after Winnie, Alan's friends did, and his brother really has kept the fight going for not just Keith but for his mum as well. The order of service for the funeral: Winnie Johnson, 1933 to 2012. This just breaks my heart that mummy had to go to her grave, not being able to put her son to rest. I don't know. The whole just, the murder alone is bad enough, let alone, missing your child, or your child going missing. but never having that closure must have just been a huge wound in her heart. And, you know, let's just take a little bit, just, you know, say a little prayer, send some good vibes, you know, whatever religion you believe in, whatever you believe in that afterlife. Let's just, you know, send some prayers to not just Keith's family, but to all the families that are out there. This is the tribute that's been done, and I'm sure been done a million times over. You know, Winnie would do it, friends and family would do it, but also just strangers would go up and put things for Keith, you know, who, if they drove past the moors, they'd stop and put a teddy bear, or they would put something, shells, flowers, do you know what I mean, just something, because for the UK, you know, this little boy was in a lot of people's hearts, and it didn't mean that the other four wasn't. But I think just because Winnie, you know, tirelessly campaigned to have, you know, her son's face there, and like having to relive every time either one of those evil bastards would say, I'll help you try and find, and there was never anybody to find, would have to go through that heartache again. So I think there was always that special place in, you know, a lot of people's hearts for not just Keith, but for Winnie too. You know, you can see that there's a picture of Winnie and Keith, and of Keith on there. It's just, I think that just sort of shows that even all these years later, people will still think of Winnie and, you know, all the Bennett family, not just Keith and Winnie, but Alan, all the family members, aunts, uncles, you know, children of the children now, and even grandchildren. It's still going to be, and still for just randoms like me, you know, I can, you know, I always remember Keith's face. I sometimes might not remember the others, and that's not a bad thing. Keith's is kind of embedded in my brain purely just because of that reason. So I just wanted to sort of give this little edit at the end, and I do thank you for watching, and I will speak to you all soon. Bye. That's the end of part 2 and the end of this one. Crime Tuesday will be another story next week. I just want to remember these children, you know, Pauline, Keith, Leslie, John and Edward. Let's just remember their faces, not the faces of the monsters that took them. And let's just give a little extra to Keith, you know, the fact that he was the only one not found. He hasn't got a resting place. He's still where the evil bleeps kept him. And, you know, hug your kids a little tighter tonight. Tell people that you love them. You know, spread love. Don't spread hate. You don't know what's around the corner. And I shall catch you on the next one. Thank you, guys.